5, 6, 7, 8.
Shimmy.
Schlemiel, Schlemazel, Haas and Pfeffer Incorporated. We're gonna do it.
And welcome back to the Oklahoma Today podcast. I'm your host, Ben Lucian. Today, our guest is RC Davis-Undiano, the Executive Director of World Literature Today, one of the most respected literary magazines out there and based right here in Norman, Oklahoma. The conversation was conducted by famed Oklahoma writer and Oklahoma Today contributor Rilla Askew. A version of this interview appears in our January-February issue on newsstands right now, but this is your chance to hear the conversation in full. We'll hear from them in a moment, but first, a word from our sponsor. The Oklahoma Visual Arts Coalition is a nonprofit that helps develop the Oklahoma visual arts community through education, promotion, connection, and funding. Since 1988, OVAC has closely worked with Oklahoma artists, educators, organizations, and communities to ensure visibility and opportunity while promoting public interest in the arts across the state. To learn more about how OVAC supports artists and to personally contribute to a growing arts community in Oklahoma, visit ovacok.org. All right, so now let's bring on our full team here. Well, not a full team.
No, Megan's out with
Megan
us.
is out. So we're going to have to,
We'll see her next week.
Yeah, we're all going to have to step up to fill Megan's
I don't know.
absence.
It's a gap that can
Actually,
never be.
it cannot be filled.
It cannot be filled.
No matter
we
what
can
we
only
do.
do what we can. Yeah.
Well, before we go any further, we do have Tuesday trivia question. This show will be debuting on what will be President's Day. So I wanted to know, do we know who was the president who was in office that's signed off on Oklahoma statehood officially? This was 1907. Do you have any guesses? I'm not.
Teddy Roosevelt.
It was Teddy Roosevelt. Yes. Teddy.
Yay, Teddy.
Big Ted signed off on Oklahoma becoming the 46th state. And you knew that, and also Mary Horn in Oklahoma City knew that.
Hey,
so
Mary.
Way to go,
Horn,
Mary.
you will
Good
be
job.
getting an Oklahoma Today prize soon. So now it's time for question of the week. So we had Rilla Askew and RC Davis-Undiano as our guests today. So I thought we would dazzle everyone with our great reading habits. So I asked, what are you currently reading right now? It doesn't have to be a book. Like, it could be, a magazine, or maybe it's an audiobook
I
series.
had to quickly look on my phone because I couldn't read the exact title.
Yes. Well, that's a good thing because you're always first in these. So.
Which I don't know why, but that's fine. The book I'm currently reading it's a horror novel called Wake Up and Open Your Eyes. It's by Clay McLeod Chaplin. It's terrifying.
Oh.
Like, I started it, so not every day. A lot of days at lunch, I go down to our work gym and I walk on the treadmill and I read on my Kindle. And I started it there because I finished The Haunting of Hill House yesterday while I was doing that, which was not scary at all. Like, not at... No.
Yeah, and I didn't like the Netflix series that much.
I didn't watch it, but I didn't like the book at all. It didn't frighten me a bit. But this one, I started down there and, like, I'm genuinely kind of scared to pick it up again. Like, it's that scary.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you're on sort of a scary kick.
Yeah, it's kind of it's a very, like, kind of currently topical horror novel where like people are brainwashed so badly by like cable news and internet things and conspiracy theories and all that stuff that they literally, like, I haven't gotten to what's happening yet. But like
book?
they become kind of feral and like violent,
yes.
and that's as far as I've gotten. So I don't actually know what's actually going on in the story, but it's terrifying. Like, it's legitimate. Like, it's one of the scariest books I've ever read, and I'm about 10% of the way through it.
Well, I'm intrigued.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kirsten Stone, research editor. What are you reading right now?
I am reading a book. It's called Society of Lies. I have like 100 pages left, but since we've been reading on deadline, I haven't been wanting to pick up my book when I go home and read.
It's hard to, yeah.
But no, it's called Society of Lies. It's by Lauren Ling Brown. It's her debut book. So it's the only one she has out. But it's really, really good, actually. So it's kind of like a murder mystery type book. It's this girl, she goes back to her college for like her college reunion, and it's also her younger sister's graduation. And then the night of the reunion and the night before the graduation, they find her sister's body has washed up dead. And so she starts investigating it, and it covers like kind of different topics and themes throughout the book as well, such as like racial injustices, privilege, secret societies at huge universities of Ivy Leagues and stuff. It's pretty interesting.
That is,
it's
that's
really
a
good.
lot of
Yeah,
heavy
that
topics.
sounds
Yeah.
good. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting too.
Yeah.
Carly, do you have a bright and cheery book? Or are you gonna
Also
go back?
reading
I actually do. It's a nonfiction book, but it's called The Ritual Effect, and I can't remember the name of the author. I'm sorry, but it's about how you can basically enhance like everyday experiences to be something that like allows you to like savor like making tea or I don't know, your bedtime routine or something. Just adding. Ironically, adding a few extra steps can actually make it more enjoyable. And so I'm looking forward to incorporating some of these rituals.
Like
into
being
my life.
conscious and like mindful about
Exactly
what's going on.
And not just doing things on autopilot. Because like the difference between a habit and a ritual is that a habit is just like automatic, whereas a ritual is like you are aware of every step in the process.
I like that.
So,
That's cool.
I'm gonna have to read that one.
Yeah.
Well,
What about you, Ben?
I'm gonna take us back to more of the darker side. So I'm normally not. I don't normally read fiction a whole lot, but I'm reading one of my first fiction books in a while, which is The Shining by Stephen King.
I love that book.
It's
Yeah.
a good book.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I picked it up because I just heard that Stephen King really hated the movie version. So I had to figure out why that was.
Yeah.
There is a mini-series version that Stephen King actually wrote that was in the 90s. Steven Weber from Wings was in it. And it's pretty good. It was actually pretty scary. Also, the sequel to The Shining, Dr. Sleep, is really good. The movie is not very good, but the book is really
Well,
good.
I guess that
the
might be next for me because
Yeah.
You liked it?
I
didn't
liked the
see
movie
it.
Dr. Sleep.
It was okay. I liked the book a lot better. I actually liked Dr. Sleep better than The Shining.
Really?
So,
That's funny because I
and
like the
in
movie
books,
better.
yes.
Like
Did you?
I was I liked the book, but I was like when I got done, I was like, I kind of like the way the movie did it a little bit better. But I think it's because it's what I saw first. And
Yeah.
I saw it young.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I think it's just kind of what I'm used to, and then the book wasn't what I was really expecting. It was still really good and very scary. Just some of the characters were a little bit different, and some of the ways they did things were a little bit like, oh, I liked how they did that in the movie. But it was it's a great book. It's a great novel.
Yes. Chris,
What about you, buddy?
behind the camera.
Well, Ben got to hear my whole.
Yeah, we talked a bit about it yesterday. You had a long car ride.
But so I'm currently reading a fantasy series. I got a book for Christmas, and it's called The Faithful and the Fallen. I'm already in book 3. So it's like Lord of the Rings meshed with Game of Thrones type thing.
Okay.
And so it's just a pretend world, which when I get home, sometimes I like to go to.
No, very nice. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then, but I'm listening in the car, then I'm listening to another series, and it's fiction, the Master and Commander series. You guys remember the
Yeah.
movie?
Yeah.
With
My
Russell
wife-
Crowe was in that, right?
Yeah. Russell Crowe, Paul Bettany,
Yeah.
and Merry or Pippin from the Lord of the Rings. I don't remember which one it was, but one of them. But my wife has listened to it or read it 5 times, all the way to like 20 some odd books. And so finally she guilted me into listening to it, and so I think I'm in book 14 or whatever. So,
Nice. Okay.
generally, I'm nonfiction. We talked about all of this.
Yeah.
And, so I've read tons about the Revolution and the founding of the country and all these different authors. And my absolute favorite author, you guys should check him out, is Nathaniel Philbrick. He's from Nantucket. He started writing about ocean, the Nantucket stuff. And so In the Heart of the Sea, that movie with Chris Hemsworth,
Yeah.
that's his book.
Oh, okay.
And that was like the second book he wrote.
Okay.
And then he got into, Ben knows, he got into the Mayflower, he got into Bunker Hill, the Battle of Little Bighorn. And I was telling Ben, I read tons of books on the Battle of Little Bighorn, and he had things I'd never heard of. He's just, and his nonfiction reads like a novel.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
And I mean, there's laugh out loud stuff in the Mayflower book, because it starts with them in England, and then when they go over, and then they come here, and then the first couple of years after our Thanksgiving and all those types of things. But he dispels a lot of myths and things. Anyway, Nathaniel Philbrick, you should check him out. He's absolutely my favorite author.
I love that. Thank you.
I've talked to him.
Also, for my event later, I was going to ask what everyone's favorite author is.
Oh,
So you answered 2 questions. Yeah.
Okay, 2 for the price of 1.
Yay.
Perfect.
Okay. All right.
But we had several online answers. Heidi Hills, we love Heidi.
Heidi, we love you.
Yes.
Can I say something about Heidi really quickly?
Yeah.
Heidi, 2 days ago, as we're recording this, was the first person to ever email us at the podcast email.
That's true.
Heidi.
Aw.
And she got a prize. Hopefully by the time this airs, she has received her Oklahoma Today sweatshirt.
Nice.
There in Owasso. Heidi, we love you. Thank you.
Yes, thank
Yeah.
you so much, Heidi. And
And if you haven't gotten the sweatshirt, email us. My goodness.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, please do email oktpod at travelok.com.
There are no more prizes for emails. Just
But
that
we
was a
do want
one-off.
we do want to
We
hear
want to
from
hear
you.
from you, though. Yeah.
Yes. Heidi, of course, a great reader. She says she reads just about everything: print, books, ebooks, and audiobooks, fiction, nonfiction, all of it. Fantasy is her favorite genre lately. She's listening to the audiobook of Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yaros. And soon we'll be starting the print book of The Undermining of Twyla and Frank by Megan Bannon.
Wow. Exciting. Thank you, Heidi.
Well, she's a magazine fan, so she's got to be a big
She's the
reader,
best.
of course. Yes. Andrea Walker Rudy says
Another super fan.
another super fan. A Better Man by Louise Penny.
Okay. I've seen that. I haven't read it, but I've seen I can picture the cover.
Yes.
Yeah.
And finally, Zoe Elrod, our writer,
Contributor,
who,
yeah.
did us a big favor by writing the event calendar the last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
She said, finally making my way through Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall.
Dying to read
Kimmerer.
that.
Yes,
Yeah, I haven't read it yet, but
really
I
good.
really want to.
All right, well, that's all
Wait, can I add one thing?
Yes.
Please support your local libraries.
Please do.
Yeah.
Because
Oh, that might be
Yeah.
another allusion to what
Oh, no.
Mason's going to be saying later.
Yeah.
well, I just wanted to say
But yes.
that because we're calling our books. You know, I mean, we have libraries full of books, and so I got to finish off this series. I got a library card, and it's just wonderful. And I just want to say, please support your library, get a library card, check out books from the library.
Yeah.
I think Zoe would appreciate that too because she works
Yes.
full time for the
Yes.
Metropolitan Library
Okay,
System
there you
and
go.
Communications, and so I'm sure that
Yeah.
she is very appreciative of
Also,
that as
right now, you still have 2 weeks left to do winter book bingo. So you only have to read 5 books, and then you turn in your bingo card that has your books listed on there to the library, and you get, I want to say either a mug or a tote bag, and then you get entered to win something else. So
A
it's
Chevy
through,
Impala. No,
So
not really.
It's like, yeah, it's through the end of February.
Cool.
So
Cool.
yeah.
Help me remember later to print my thingy out. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, let's go ahead and pitch it to RC and Rilla for their conversation.
I'm Rilla Askew, a writer and professor of creative writing at the University of Oklahoma. I'm also, as it happens, a big fan of the literary journal World Literature Today. I'm here today speaking with the executive director of World Literature Today, RC Davis-Undiano. RC is the Neustadt Professor and Presidential Professor of English at the University of Oklahoma, as well as the executive director of WLT. He's the author of 4 books: Mestizos Come Home, Making and Claiming Mexican-American Identity; The Paternal Romance, Reading God, the Father in Early Western Culture; Culture and Cognition, and Criticism and Culture. He's edited some 20 books, published around 60 articles, and authored 2 literary criticism textbooks, as well as several well-produced plays, which we'll talk about today. And he directs the Latinx Studies Program at the University of Oklahoma. In 2018, Dr. Davis-Undiano was inducted into the Oklahoma Higher Education Hall of Fame. Welcome, RC.
Thank you so much. Nice
So
to
we're
be
here to celebrate your 25th year as Executive Director of World Literature Today, which is amazing. So can you please tell our listeners about the magazine and about the other related publications that you oversee as part of the WLT organization?
Happy to do that. Well, as you said, World Literature Today is a magazine, and that's a distinction, I think. It's distinct from being a professional journal, like the AMA journal or something like that. WLT is a magazine, and it's been around with different names since 1927. And it's a bold experiment in trying to tell the world more about itself. Every part of the globe is parochial and isolated in some sense. You know, if you're in New York seems like the whole world. And World Literature Today is a bold experiment that tries to bring knowledge about world culture, particularly literature, to every part of the globe. So there's a strong kind of moral, ethical dimension here. We're trying to make the world better in our own way, and I think everybody at WT has always felt the draw of that goal. And just real quick, a couple of things happened that I think will help to explain the path that WLT is on right now. When I first got to WLT as a director, 9/11 had just happened. And people were traumatized. And as it turned out, we had an issue in the works that it was time to publish it about Arab culture, Arabic writing. On the cover was going to be this sort of radical Palestinian writer who ended up getting a Nobel Prize. And the people of world literature today really worried about this because people were still traumatized, and they weren't sure this was the right topic at that point. The night that we did our annual Neustadt Lit Fest, we put copies of WLT on everybody's plate. As people came in, they were shocked in an irrational way, as if people were going to jump out of the magazine and hurt them. And they were very, very uncomfortable. As the night went on, people kept thumbing through it, and I overheard a couple of people saying, I really wanted some information about what's going on, and all I'm getting is sound bites. Here is real information about the Middle East and about Arabic culture. And I was really impressed seeing that happen. And I realized that nobody else does quite what world literature does. And if we were to disappear, there was nobody waiting to take it over and do that. It was a very critical function that we performed. The other thing, and I'll try to make this very brief, is that we were able to look ahead and see that the endless subsidies that so many publications like WLT have at universities and colleges would not go on forever. That we needed to we needed to think about an audience, and we needed to have an audience of readers. So out of those two sort of moments of inspiration, we embarked on taking World Lit Today out of being just a professional journal and make it a magazine that would be readable by lots of people, could really do some good in the world. And now, so many years later, our readership is over 1 million a year. And we've won over 20 publishing and editorial awards. And so I think we became more useful. We were touching so many more lives than we could have done any other way. And sure enough, the universities are cutting back, and we supply most of our revenue just to exist. And also, a direct report to me is Latin American Literature Today. They're a wonderful crew. They're in the modern languages, literature, and linguistics, and they cover what's happening in Latin America. And it's very much our sister publication. And then we also started Chinese Literature Today. We got a rare grant from the Chinese government, $1 million. They've never done that before, to start that magazine, and also start a book series at the OU Press of translated works in Chinese. So altogether, our team is, if I count in the direct reports, is close to 20 people. When we started out, it was a 3-person office. So it's very different now than it was 25 years ago. It's found a place in the world, and I just want to keep it going in the same direction.
That's so exciting, and it so gives a sense of the importance, really, of the magazine itself and of the entire World Literature Today organization, which has which umbrellas these other publications and so forth, and also is home to the Neustadt Prize. So some people may not be aware about the Neustadt Prize, one of the most important international literary prizes, and also the NSK Prize for children's and young adult literature. Can you speak a bit about all of the Neustadt in general?
With great pleasure. The Neustadt Prizes, the Neustadt International Prize for Literature and the NSK Neustadt Prize for Children's and Young Adult Literature are among the most important literary prizes in the world. The New York Times said a couple of years ago that the Neustadt Prize is probably only second in importance to the Nobel Prize. And whether that's still literally true or not, it has a great reputation in the world. People can only be a juror one time. They have one shot in their life to be a juror. And the Neustadt Prize, traditionally, every jury is different, but the Neustadt jurors like to support and give the prize to writers who are deserving but haven't quite made it to the top yet. So there's a wonderful history of writers that were given that little extra push by one of those prizes. The prize and the magazine fit together in a wonderful way. I think we, once there is a Neustadt winner, we bring out an issue of the magazine devoted to that writer. And then prior to doing that, we do a celebration at World Lit Today on campus to honor that writer and make sure the students can meet them and be impressed with them and, spend time with a course devoted to that writer's work. And then the end of that sequence is there's actually a special issue of World Lit Today about the writer. So those two programs, the Neustadt Prize program and the magazine itself, really work hand in hand. And it's just a wonderful coupling.
That is such a great magazine.
Mm-hmm.
And their
Yes.
editor, Daniel Simon, who wasn't in the interview, but is a wonderful person as well and writes great poetry. We've published his poetry, and it's fantastic. Like, I don't think that people in Oklahoma really appreciate how big a deal
Yes.
World Literature Today is.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it is genuinely one of the,
It's international.
like, world is a true thing in that title, and like,
Yes.
it's respected all over the world. It's very cool that it's here.
And it's celebrating it celebrated its 100th anniversary recently.
I might be
Yeah.
celebrating.
I can't remember if
I think
it's
it's
this year or if it was
approaching,
last
yeah.
year.
Yeah, it's coming up.
Yeah.
We
Anyway,
love them.
yes, thank you, and thank you to Rilla Askew for doing the
Yes,
conversation.
thank you, Rilla.
Well, it's time for Podvents. This is the part of the show where we go through the travelok.com event calendar and pick out a few of our favorite gyms. Is there anyone who would like to go first this week?
I already kind of spoiled
Yeah.
mine. so I'm
Okay,
gonna-
yeah, well, we're already on the topic.
So since Chris already gave us his favorite author, and or is there just a book that you come back to a lot? Like you read it a bunch. Does that make sense? Like I've had there's some books that you're like, oh, I'm just gonna read this again. Or a favorite author is fine too.
Some of my favorite authors got canceled, so.
It happens. You know what? It happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll just say Dostoevsky for you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
and
Okay.
move- And what about you, Carly?
Man, I'm struggling to think of one because I tend to only read a book once. I think the only series that I have read multiple times was maybe Harry Potter.
Okay.
But man, I'm struggling.
That's a lot, though.
I just read a
that's-
lot of different genres and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Harry Potter's a lot to read once, much less to read multiple times. So
Yeah.
yeah. What about you?
I kind of the same. The only thing I've really read more than once, a series-wise, is Harry Potter. Whenever I was younger, though, I have a book of the Romeo and Juliet from Shakespeare.
Yeah.
And that thing is, torn to crap from the amount of times
I
I read
love
it. There's,
this.
dog-ear pages, crinkles on the cover. It looks terrible condition, but I won't get rid of it, and
Oh
I
my
love
gosh,
it.
you're so cool. That's
Oh,
so
actually,
awesome.
I'm sorry, I changed my answer. Flannery O'Connor, her short stories. I've read
yeah,
those
that's a
multiple
good one.
times.
Love Flannery O'Connor, one of my favorite authors. In fact, one of my friends named her daughter after Flannery O'Connor.
Oh, that's nice.
Isn't that nice? Yeah. So, Chris, you shared with us your favorite
Yes.
author. Do you have a favorite book series?
It's got to be Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the
Hobbit,
Rings.
Lord
It's
of the
great.
Rings.
Yeah.
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 And so I've read those multiple times. But then one I come back to, which is really weird, is Watership Down.
Yeah.
I love that book.
Yeah.
And so I've read
Okay.
it probably 3 or 4 times. It might be 10 years apart or whatever,
Yeah.
but isn't that weird? I think
No.
that's strange. But
I
Watership
love
Down
that.
is-
I used to have, I don't really anymore, once a year, I would read, and it only takes a day. There's a play called The Search for Signs of Intelligent Life in the Universe. It was written by Jane Wagner, who is Lily Tomlin's wife. And it was staged in the 80s on Broadway. I think Lily Tomlin either got nominated for or won a Tony for it, or maybe Jane Wagner won a Tony. It's a one-woman show. Lily Tomlin plays all the parts. But it's just the most beautifully written play ever. And so I used to read that about once a year. And then, yeah, Lord of the Rings, I read a ton. I read all the L. Frank Baum Oz books when I was a kid, a ton. But yeah, I'm kind of like you anymore. I kind of read it and move on. There's too much out there.
Yeah.
So we've spent this whole show talking about reading. And if you're still tuned in, then you definitely want to go to the Friends of the Library book sale here in Oklahoma City. It's at the Oklahoma State Fairgrounds, February 22nd, 23rd. That's Friday and Saturday. 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., February 22nd, 23rd. If you want a sensory-friendly shopping experience, you want to go from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. on the Saturday, on February 23rd. There will be 500,000 items, books, CDs, vinyl records, all kinds of magazines, all kind of stuff. Paperbacks will be $1. Children's books will be half off. And there will be a special Better Books section everything's going to be priced individually, but it's all rare and collectible stuff. I know, isn't that cool? Also, there will be more than 1,000 volunteers there to help you. And I'll just say this, funnest volunteer experience you will ever have. Like, have you guys ever volunteered at the book sale? Mm-hmm. It's a blast. I first did it in high school for Honor Society or Key Club or something. And just kept going back. I haven't been back in a while, but for years and years and years. And if you volunteer, you get access to a special pre-sale. Oh. So you get to like come buy things before anybody else.
Yeah, now really that's probably the best
reason
perk.
Enough to do it. But
sure.
honestly, like, I think the last time we did it was probably 2017, 2018, somewhere in there. Mm-hmm. I know it was when we were at the Commerce Building because LaRonda came by and checked out. But I had so much fun talking to people and looking at what people are buying, and like people want to talk about books, and it's a great time. So if you're looking for something to volunteer, it's great. But even if you just want to go, it's a lot of fun. You can find more information at supportmls.org. That's the Friends of the Metropolitan Library's website. And if you scroll down, you'll see where like there's kind of two things, and one of them says Friends of the Library, and it's got book sale written on it, so you can just click that. And that is how you find info. But it really is. You guys have been to this though, right? Mm-hmm. It's so much fun. Yeah. It's so great. Have you ever been?
I have not, because I've never really been in this area before.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're a newish Metro resident, so it's really fun. You should go. Mm-hmm. So yeah, if you're a reader, you've been to it, right? The Friends Library book sale. It's the best. Yeah, so it's at the Oklahoma State Fairgrounds here in Oklahoma City, February 22nd, 23rd. Yeah.
Kirsten, what's your event this time?
Well, it's still fun. It's a little more, I would say, glamorous than a book sale, but a book sale is still good depending on what books you read.
It's the most glamorous book
I'm probably not going to wear my
time.
ball gown.
Well, you can whip out your ball gowns for this.
More glamorous than the book fair at my elementary school. That was pretty glamorous.
Was.
No. You can whip your ball gown out for this one, because I am taking us to Enid at the Stride Bank Center in the Grand Ballroom on February 22nd. The doors will open at 6 p.m. and will begin the Champagne and Diamonds Gala.
Wow.
So, yes. It will be a night of dinner, dancing with live music. There will be a silent auction, and there will also be a diamond. For one winner, you'll get a champagne flute with your ticket, which tickets are also, they start at $80, or I think that may just be the price for tickets, but $80 for a ticket. Mm-hmm. And you get a champagne flute, everyone does, and hidden at the bottom of one of the champagne flutes is a diamond that is a 1 carat round, brilliant cut.
Wow.
And you get to win that diamond if you get the lucky champagne
flute. Now that's class!
Wait, it's not, is it in the glass, or is it?
That's amazing.
I believe it's in the bottom of the glass. You'll know it's in there. Champagne
don't just throw it down.
Yeah, right? Don't chug your champagne at the
Drink responsibly. Drink your champagne responsibly.
Yeah. Drink it like you're an adult, not at a college party.
Drink it like there might be a diamond somewhere in there, because there could be. That's cool, though.
Yeah.
Wow. Mm-hmm. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yes, and it's hosted by the 4R Kids Foundation. So it is a fundraiser.
Oh, great.
Very good benefit night. It'll be a wonderful time.
I love that.
Yes.
It's kind of like the king cake. You might have the baby in there.
I'd rather have a diamond than a baby.
I would too.
Probably. I think you're probably right. I would agree in most cases.
You're probably not going to choke on the baby.
That's true. Probably not.
Right.
Carly, what is your event this time?
So I have a trivia question for you guys.
Okay.
Do you know?
Turning the tables on me.
Yeah. Do you know what the longest running, currently showing Broadway play or musical, whatever, is show on Broadway?
I think I do, but that's because I know what you're probably.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I can see your notes, so I'm not going to guess. But my genuine guess would be Phantom or Cats, one of those two. Mm-hmm. One of those.
Yeah, I would.
Like, I know Les Mis closed for a while, so it's not Les Mis.
Yeah.
But I would say either Phantom or Cats.
I probably would have guessed Cats.
Yeah.
So it is. Chicago is the longest currently running.
Okay.
Phantom is the longest running ever, but it's not currently running on Broadway. Yeah.
It's not?
So, no, not right now. So this iteration of Chicago has been running since 1996, which is, we're coming up on 30 years That's
Next
insane.
year, yeah.
That's so insane.
Wow.
I had so much fun researching just the musical Chicago. I love Chicago. I love the music, the movie and the musical. But did you guys know that in the 1975 movie, Jerry Orbach played Billy Flynn? Jerry Orbach
From
of
Law and Order?
Order
Oh,
fame
wow.
also did Lumiere's voice in Beauty and the Beast. Okay. Anyway,
I didn't know that.
super random that I found out. But if you would like to see Chicago live, it's going to be at the McKnight Center for Performing Arts in Stillwater. It's February 22nd and 23rd. But there's going to be 3 shows. So there'll be one on Saturday afternoon, Saturday night, and Sunday afternoon. So you have 3 opportunities to see it. Tickets are $55 to $150 depending on where you sit in the theater. If you want to buy tickets, you just go to the McKnightCenter.org, and I think it's going to be a lot of
Yeah.
fun.
The McKnight Center is nice.
It is so nice. The
Yeah.
acoustics in there are amazing. And so if you can't help yourself and you're singing along, that's okay. Everybody will still be able to hear the actual professionals.
And McKnight Center pro tip: if you're at the McKnight Center, you are 2-minute walk from Original Hideaway, maybe.
Yeah,
Ooh,
it's
yeah.
like right
That
there.
is a pro
It's
tip.
right there.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, so it's a good Stillwater night. Yeah.
Absolutely. And if you stay overnight, the next day you can go to the waffle. What is the waffle?
Just waffling.
Just waffling.
Just
yes,
waffling.
which is fantastic.
So good. We had the best breakfast there that time. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All
I
right.
like it.
Well, for my event, I want to talk. I mean, I'm a big fan of this podcast, obviously.
It's okay.
I think we do a great job. But there's something that makes everything better, and I think it can make this show better too. Do you know what I'm thinking about?
Ice cream.
Ice cream does make everything better. Dance breaks, you're right. I was thinking Muppets.
Oh
Muppets.
my gosh! Of course.
If we had some Muppets on the couch, I think that would just make that it would be an unstoppable podcast.
I mean,
at
we're
that
friends
point.
with David Bizarro, formerly of Sesame
That's
Street.
true. It
we
is-
could potentially make this
We
happen.
could make this happen.
Yeah.
Do we have a favorite Muppet and/or like Sesame Street
Oh
character?
my gosh.
Grover.
Oh gosh.
Ooh, Grover. I love Grover.
Grover was always my favorite when I was
Yeah.
little. Like I watched Sesame Street to see Grover, and
But-
everybody else was in my way.
Miss Piggy.
Oh,
I love her. I
She
do.
is
I
the
love her.
diva.
Oh.
She is my idol. Yeah.
I lied. Janice.
Janice
Ah,
is
Janice.
great.
Janice is my favorite Muppet.
She's like really cool.
Yeah. So I said, hey man, I'm not going to jail for you or anybody. Yeah, she's my favorite.
Well, David Bizarro could help us out with that, but also my podvent is about Darcy Lynn. And Darcy Lynn could
yeah.
also help us out with that. Of course, Darcy Lynn became famous nationally for her appearance on America's Got Talent as the young ventriloquist extraordinaire.
She's amazing.
I interviewed her actually in like 2017 or 2018. Yeah, back at my previous job. And it's crazy because now on Thursday, February 20th, she'll be performing at Bricktown Comedy Club.
Hey.
Which, I mean, she was just like a little kid when I interviewed her, and now she's playing at a club with alcohol. It's just kind of crazy to wrap my mind around. But yeah, that'll be a great show. Darcy Lynn is a fixture in Oklahoma entertainment, and for anyone who's a fan of puppets and ventriloquism. That will be at the Bricktown Comedy Club in Oklahoma City. You can contact them at 405-594-0505 or visit bricktowncomedy.com.
And she's pretty like clean comedy.
Yes,
Yeah,
it is.
yeah.
I should say an all ages show.
Yeah.
So even though you could get a drink there, it is for the whole family.
Yeah. Well, and they
Yes.
bring in a lot of comedians, and not all of them are
Yes.
family friendly.
I should point out that yes, they're not all family friendly,
Yeah,
but this one is.
this one is.
And also, the Bricktown Comedy Club has a order 2 item rule, so you need to get like a drink and a food dish if you go.
Okay.
Just be prepared for that.
Okay. Good to know.
Well, that's all we have for today. I guess it's time for the star of the show, which I'm going to have to give to literacy and reading.
Yay!
In
We
general,
love
yes.
reading.
Because
Yeah.
you can't read the magazine without that.
It'd be difficult.
Yes.
Although the photos are lovely, so
they
if
are
you,
lovely and
yeah.
worth 1,000 words.
If you're not
so-
into reading, the magazine is still a good thing to get.
Yes. Whether you can read or not. Well, that's all we have for you this week. This has been the show now from here to Pauls Valley, home of the Toy and Action Figure Museum. as the Oklahoma Today podcast. Head to oklahomatoday.com or pick up our latest issue on newsstands now. Send your feedback to oktpod@travelok.com. That means you too, Heidi. And we'll talk to you again next week.
Goodbye.
Good show, everybody.
Woo.
Good show.
My favorite thing about the Muppets is when they go, whoa!
Yeah.